You are listening to the Pot.Live podcast. I'm your host, Lenny G, and this podcast is going to teach you all about what's happening, what the trends are, the latest news, the thought leaders, the business leaders in the cannabis industry. As this industry moves forward at a rapid pace, everyone needs to adapt. Everyone needs to change to what's going on. And we're going to bring you those guests. What are they doing to make their business successful? What are they doing to get their product out there? How are they getting exposure? How are they dealing with all the changing laws? That's what Pot.Live is going to be all about. And make sure you visit Pot.Live, download the app, go to the website, and you will see all of the digital media assets from articles, videos, podcasts, everything. The latest news and trends will all be at Pot.Live. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the show. Check out the new MJ.com. Connecting the culture, silencing the stigma. The only destination online where you can educate, locate, entertain, and shop. You have VIP memberships. You've got a full shop and marketplace. Industry Insider gives you all original content to our blog, all the best articles from thought leaders around the world. You've got medical information, the ability to get your medical marijuana card. You've got delivery. You've got all the digital media content you would need. You've got brand partners, business solutions, locate your dispensaries, find info on any strain you can imagine, play games with our 420 trivia game, download the free app, check out MJ.com. Welcome to another episode of the Pot.Live podcast. I'm your host, Lenny G, and today we have a special guest. Mr. Tim Conder is the CEO of Blackbird, which is a software and operations company servicing the cannabis industry, which recently unveiled its new Blackbird social equity program. And they are also a subsidiary of Tilt Holdings, of which Tim is the COO. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Excellent. Welcome to the show, like I said. So why don't you tell everybody first, let's tell everybody about the companies and then we'll dive into your journey. So Blackbird, Tilt Holdings, why don't you let the listeners know who they are exactly?
Yeah, definitely. So like you mentioned at the beginning, Blackbird is a technology and operations company that services operators in the cannabis industry. Specifically, we help move product downstream through the supply chain. Currently operate from an operations perspective in Nevada and California, and hoping to open up a licensed distribution facility in Massachusetts in the near term. But our software offering is newly integrated with Baker Technologies, another subsidiary of Tilt. And through both of those companies, Blackbird and Baker, we service essentially every market in the U.S. that has a legal cannabis regulatory structure. So yeah, it's been super exciting trajectory for Blackbird. We've been happy to join Tilt to sort of be able to scale our business in a more substantial and exciting way. And I can talk real quickly about Tilt Holdings as well. Tilt Holdings is the amalgamation of several best-in-class cannabis companies, and essentially, what we do today and what our goal is long-term is to support cannabis businesses through innovation and technology. So the sort of core assets within Tilt are Jupiter Research, which is a vape hardware provider, Blackbird, which I just talked about, and Baker Technologies, which was a CRM for the cannabis industry, the first actually, as well as some plant-touching assets, Santi Veritas, which is a Canadian company that's seeking its cultivation and production license in British Columbia, as well as Standard Farms, which is a cultivation and production facility located in Pennsylvania, and Commonwealth Alternative Care, which is a vertically integrated cultivator, retailer, and manufacturer in Massachusetts.
Great. Excellent. So let's dive into a few different angles here based on what you just said. So a lot of our listeners are also business owners, and the business owners, in the industry, even myself and my partners, we have a platform, portfolio of assets in the industry, and we get approached. Do we stay private? Do we go public? So was Blackbird, I believe you founded Blackbird as well, or a co-founder, was that a private company that was then rolled up into Tilt? And if so, What was the pros and cons of being private versus going public and rolling up into a amalgamation, as you said, like you have?
Yeah, I mean, so yes, Blackbird was a privately held company. We started our company in early 2015. We are operators and therefore had somewhat of a difficult time raising capital to scale our business. And so really, when we contemplated the idea of being rolled up under the Tilt banner, it was really with two things in mind. One, we didn't want to have to continue raising capital. We were excited by the ability to scale through Tilt's sort of capital assets. And two, we really were excited about the other companies that were also part of the Tilt family. We had a lot of respect for Baker Technologies. We'd known their founders for, several years. Something that we had always talked about them with was doing sort of a cannabis technology roll-up of this kind. So being able to sort of execute on that was also exciting to us. And we were really encouraged by also the acquisition of Jupiter Research, which is one of the leading hardware providers to the industry. From a revenue standpoint, one of, if not the largest, and just an exciting company and well run by its co-founder and CEO, Mark Scatterday. So yeah, that was really the premise under which we decided to join Tilt was, the ability to scale quickly and the ability to do so with complementary assets that were very focused on technology and innovation, just as we were.
Has it affected the freedom factor for you when you were a private company versus having public, requirements?
Oh, definitely. I mean, a public company is its own beast. I mean, there are upsides and there are downsides, just like anything. Having, the disclosure element is definitely something that's new to me. I'm an open book, and we're always really excited to kind of talk about what we'll be doing in the near future, but that's not as easy to do within a public company. So yeah, it's affected us somewhat for sure, but there is also a lot of upside to being part of a public company as well.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for sharing that. We just like to dive into some of the, founders or CEOs' journeys through that process because we get a lot of questions on that. So thank you for sharing. So let's dive into Blackbird a little bit. So Blackbird, I know that you deal with retail, wholesale, and consumer clients. Can you just, for the, beginner listeners out there, can you go over each one of those facets and how you work with each type of company or person?
Yeah, of course. So like I said, really, we're wholly focused on moving product downstream through the supply chain. So for cultivators and producers, we provide them software, inventory management software that enables them to manage their standing inventory at their own facility or inventory at one of the Blackbird distribution facilities. And then we also provide them operational support. And for cultivators and producers, that is trucks and drivers run and managed by Blackbird that pick up and transport product either between facilities or from their facility to a retailer. We do that at scale in both Nevada and California, where we hold cannabis distribution licenses. And then for retailers, we also offer them a software element. That software element is sort of the base of that is inventory management with point of sale functionality. And with the integration of the Baker toolset into our software also provides sort of customer retention tools like text messaging, loyalty and rewards program. We also provide them a software component that allows them to create and manage an e-commerce platform that they can either embed into their own website or have live on blackbirdgo.com, which is essentially a cannabis marketplace not dissimilar to Uber Eats or Postmates. And then we also provide the operational component, which is, again, cars, drivers, dispatchers to affect the last mile delivery for those retailers. And then for consumers, as I just mentioned, this e-commerce platform, consumers can go to retailers that we work with's website to place an order through their embedded e-commerce environment, or go to blackbirdgo.com to place an order from their favorite or local dispensary directly through that site. That's essentially the long and short of it.
Great. So let's back up to you now. What was your journey? Were you always in this industry? I know you started the company in 2015, Blackbird. Before that, were you in the industry? Give us a little journey of who Tim Conder is and where you came from.
Yeah, we'll do. So, my background is, I was in construction for the better part of a decade. In my late teens and early 20s, I worked as a carpenter and cement mason in the Bay Area, running sort of large scale infrastructure projects. I got out of that after, like I said, about 10 years and wanted to do something that was a little more fun. And I had some friends that were bicycle messengers and said that I should try that out, and did. So I became a bicycle messenger in San Francisco years ago and was for several years, and then decided to move back to my hometown of Reno, Nevada, with the thesis that, a relationship-driven bicycle messenger service would thrive in the Reno market. So I started a bicycle messenger service here in Reno, Nevada in 2009. And we ran that for 8 years successfully, grew it to well over 100 clients. Was a really wonderful time. Got to hire a lot of friends and kind of learn the ins and outs of entrepreneurship. And in 2015, kind of saw the writing on the wall and the ability to pivot into this sort of newly regulated industry of cannabis. I had a relationship personally with the plant. My family has used cannabis either recreationally or for medicinal reasons since I could remember. I had friends that were winning licenses in California and also winning licenses in Nevada. And we sort of saw it as a chance to pivot our essentially all sort of legal courier work for our bicycle messenger service into this new space. So we did just that. We started doing wholesale transportation at the outset of the medical market in Nevada and retail home delivery, and very quickly saw that the software solutions that we were using for our previous courier company were really not going to be robust enough to accommodate the needs for a regulated cannabis delivery company. And so, we were lucky to know technology, very skilled technologists, and recruited them to build our own complementary software. And that was sort of the nexus of Blackbird.
Interesting. That's a great story. And one that I haven't heard before, obviously, with the bicycle messaging. That's fantastic. Fantastic. Good story, and happy for your success so far. So tell us about the Blackbird Social Equity Program. I know that's a big venture of yours. Can you explain that?
Yeah, will do. So as I mentioned, when we entered the newly regulated cannabis market, we did so with an understanding of the, previous and ongoing illicit market. We had watched sort of Prop 215 transpire in California. I lived in the Bay Area when Harborside first opened, had my own medical card in that state. Like I mentioned, we had family and friends who were operating Prop 215 businesses in Northern California. And we're also lucky to know people that were awarded licenses here in our home state of Nevada as well. So we understood those that had come before us, and we believed very strongly in the necessity of us to honor those that came before us, and to do so sort of, with integrity and conviction. And so while this social equity program was just sort of publicized, it definitely isn't new to us. We have been trying to engage in social equity programs where they exist, primarily Oakland, since we've been able. And when we expanded into California at the beginning of 2018, we did so directly into Oakland, where the first social equity program in the country existed. And we've sort of been participating in that program since then by providing incubation space to a licensed social equity licensed cannabis operator there. But, we felt like there was more that we could do to support other operators as well. And so along with the technical assistant in Oakland and other operators like ourselves, we sort of have created this robust platform for social equity license holders where they can access different technology and services either for free or at cost to help support their businesses. I think, we're a strong believer in that, cannabis shouldn't only be an exciting sort of business opportunity for people like us, but for those that were most adversely and negatively affected by the war on drugs. It's an abomination that we're able to operate these businesses transporting millions of dollars worth of cannabis product, on a weekly and monthly basis, while there are those who are doing very similar things just a couple of years ago that are sitting in jail. We have an obligation to remedy that, and I think that starts with industry operators.
So there's the social equity program. I just want to simplify it to make sure I have it correct. Is that just for minority aspiring business owners, or is it for anyone that's just having trouble getting their foot in the door? Is it, across all, nationalities, races, and everything, or is it just for people that had, criminal backgrounds? Can you just simplify that a little bit?
Yeah, no, it's more specifically for social equity applicants as those qualifications are determined by jurisdiction, right? So like in Oakland, LA, and soon hopefully San Francisco, and soon hopefully other programs in specifically California, the sort of requirements are outlined by the city or local municipality, and we sort of follow those guidelines. Would love to open the program up to really anyone to apply for, but as it currently stands, those are the sort of applicants and operators that we're focused on.
Yeah, no, I believe I do business with one operation in Oakland, and I believe that as a requirement of their license, they actually have to provide, I believe, office space or to help an aspiring business owner in this program, get their foot in the door. Is that how it works?
Yeah. So you either have to, as an operator in Oakland, you either have to, like I was mentioning, incubate a social equity applicant or operator within your own space. So you have to provide them 1,000 square feet for 3 years at no cost. Or you have to be a majority-owned equity business. So 51% or more of your business has to be wholly owned by equity qualifying applicant. So like I mentioned, we've been doing the incubation in our space in Oakland, but wanted to take it a step further. And I think the thing that we saw that was challenging for the group that we were incubating was, great, you have all this space. Now what do you do with it? And if you don't have the money to actually start and run the business, how do you launch that business? What are your software needs? What are your operational needs? Are there technical assistants that can help you sort of, make a business plan and affect that business plan? And that's really where we've been focusing.
So it's basically a full mentoring program almost for these people, right? Which is great.
Yeah, totally. And I don't want to take credit for all of that. We're very lucky to work with wonderful businesses like a business called Make Green Go that's run by a woman by the name of LaWanda Knox. She was awarded I believe they call it the technical assistant program in the city of Oakland. So her company kind of leads assistance for these types of equity businesses. There are lots of other cannabis businesses that participate. One that comes to mind is Banks, which is essentially a recruiting platform for cannabis companies. But yeah, the really exciting thing is that we haven't been doing this alone. There are lots of other groups and individuals that want to participate in a real and substantial way. And that's why this program is so exciting.
Good. Well, congrats on those accomplishments and helping the community. That's a huge item across the country that needs to be spread a little more. So that's great and positive. So tell everybody, where can they find more information on Blackbird, get in touch with you, your team, or even learn more about the social equity program?
Yeah, definitely. You can visit Blackbird at myblackbird.com. There's information about our social equity program. You can also access Blackbird Go either from that site or directly at blackbirdgo.com. And for more information about Tilt Holdings, you can visit tiltholdings.com as well.
Excellent. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the national scene in the cannabis industry. So you deal with all these types of businesses and consumers, and obviously banking, federal regulation, federal legalization is a huge topic as everything goes mainstream. So as we're recording this last week, the House of Representatives started the ball rolling on getting the Banking Act passed. Now it's supposedly supposed to go to the Senate. Tell us, what have been some of the hurdles for the businesses that you work with or your own businesses in not being able to bank traditionally?
Yeah, for a business like Blackbird, it's primarily that is an enormous security risk, right? We transport upwards of tens of millions of dollars worth of product each month, and most of that product is paid for in cash. And so, either our drivers or our third-party security team, in most cases, has to pick that cash up and transport it sometimes hundreds of miles. And that is, a security risk that we've been forced to take since our inception in 2015, but it's the thing that keeps me up at night. So, access to safe banking from my point of view would go an enormous way in sort of remedying those situations. So that's really exciting. On a more personal note, I mean, my own personal checking account has been, shut down at least 9 times. And while that's more of an inconvenience than anything, but I think that as a lot of people describe, so the cannabis industry is sort of growing and expanding every day, and access to safe and above board banking goes a long ways in legitimizing that industry from a lot of aspects. Our employees, not getting paid in cash or by paper check, but being able to have direct deposit. Our employees being able to have a 401k, which they do today, but was very problematic in setting up because of banking and our inability to make large wire transfers. So there really, there are a lot of unintended consequences that the limited access to banking has, but I would say, Blackbird and Tilt Holdings, our primary focus is on alleviating those problems as it relates to the safety and security of our employees, first and foremost.
Yeah, well said. And I think a lot of people don't realize all of those obstacles that every business, whether you're touching the plant or not, have to deal with in this industry. And there's a lot of great people like yourself, like our team, your team, the people you're trying to help, and they're trying to do good things for the country and for the industry, and they're just have their hands tied. So hopefully this will go through and that'll make things a lot easier. Let's talk about the political climate, and you don't have to give your political views or anything like that, but based on the upcoming election, do you think that cannabis and legalization federally, nationally, however you want to term it, will be a huge topic in the upcoming presidential election?
I believe that it will be. I think, it feels like it has been an important and substantial topic in preceding elections as well. So yeah, I think it will. I think we believe that federal legalization is an inevitability. It's more of a timing issue than anything. So always excited to see that conversation furthered really in whichever arena that ends up taking place.
Sure. And how do you foresee, just your opinion on, once everything is federally legal, and there's obviously millions and billions of dollars on the sidelines from the big boys jumping in, all of a sudden Walmart starts selling weed, Uber starts delivering weed, Amazon starts selling it down the road. How does that affect a lot of these smaller retailers you're dealing with for an exit strategy for them?
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see for sure. But like you mentioned, we have to anticipate that sort of larger retail players and manufacturers and ancillary businesses will try to move into cannabis in a big way. What we always say is sort of be prepared for that day and be so far out ahead that it takes years to catch up if they're ever able to. And so that's why it's important, to scale and build as quickly as possible and really entrench ourselves with operators and consumers alike, so that there's really no need for big business to enter the fray, right? Like if people are being provided the most quality product at a great price and with a ton of convenience, then there's not much else that a Walmart or an Uber can provide that can provide the consumer at that point.
All right. So to finish up, Tim, and thank you for your time and thanks for being on the show. Tell the viewers one thing you're super excited about in the industry and one thing that concerns you in the industry. And we may have touched on those things already, but let's finish up with something there for the listeners.
Yeah. I guess I would say the thing that excites me and concerns me are the same thing. And that is, as an industry, are we able to both honor and support those that laid the foundation for us to build the regulated industry upon? And if we're not, then, that's what scares me is that failure to do so. And I think, like I mentioned earlier in the conversation, we have a responsibility and an obligation to do just that. And I'm very, very hopeful that all regulated cannabis operators take that responsibility as seriously as we do at Blackbird and at Tilt, because if that's the case, then we'll have so much more opportunity for success.
Tim Conder, thank you so much for being a guest on the show and taking the time today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thank you so much, everyone.
All righty. And then everybody else, you'll see the show notes. We'll have all the contact information for Blackbird and Tilt. Check them out. And we'll see you next time on the Pot.Live podcast. If you're listening to this podcast, that means you like digital media. And where is the home for all digital media content in the cannabis industry? It is Pot.Live. That's right, Pot.Live. That's where you'll find all of the podcasts that you like, just like the one you're listening to right now. All of the video content that you love, and all of the written articles, trends, news, whatever you need, it's all right there. Entertaining and educational, the home of digital media content in the cannabis industry. Visit us at Pot.Live and download the free app at your Google Play Store and the Apple iTunes Store.